I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll let the minutes show that Recording Secretary, Executive Assistant Lori Marsh is present, and the Commissioner Whittam, Commissioner Davis, and Commissioner Mello are also present. I'd like to recognize Chief Canfield sitting at the head table, and we would then proceed to our agenda since we have a quorum. Chief?
Lieutenant Noyes, if you can come up and introduce one of our newest hires.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. This is Sandro Bosniak. He's one of our new hires. Him and his family immigrated here from Bosnia in 2001, just before 9/11. He then went to school, since he's been 2, here at Laconia. Went through the school systems here at Laconia before going up to Plymouth State. When he was up at Plymouth State, he majored in criminal justice and he minored in cybersecurity. So, and he's our new officer here at Laconia. So, and his parents are here as well. So,
Nice.
he's here to be sworn in today.
Yeah.
So, Sandro Bosniak, do you solemnly swear that you will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all duties incumbent upon you as a full member of the Laconia Police Department, according to the best of your abilities, agreeable to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and laws of the state of New Hampshire, and the ordinances of the city of Laconia, so help you God?
I do.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
If you want.
Just need you to do some signing. So I need you
Yeah,
to
we-
sign it.
Congratulations, exciting.
All right. Just right here. I forget to stay.
And you gotta do it one more time for me. Right here, and it's just your signature. Perfect, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Chief's hands to the commissioners.
Okay.
Congratulations and
Thank
welcome.
you.
It's an honor and privilege. I'm glad to have you here.
Thank you. Glad to be here. It's an honor.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
That's nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
thank you.
That's nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good day.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
guys, thank
You're
you.
welcome. That's nice.
Yeah. Good kitty. Grew up in this area and went through the high school criminal justice program.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, so,
That's cool. Should do an article about that.
I think I'll do up some kind of press release and
Yeah, it'd be
put the
great.
swearing in
yeah.
picture in there, yeah. That would be very cool.
Be good PR.
Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be good.
Yeah.
Moving on. All right, moving on to personnel matters. Chief Canfield, commendations and awards.
Nothing?
Resignations and retirement.
Nothing?
Promotions and classification changes.
Nothing?
Command staff report, support division, Chief Canfield.
So they've been, all the new cars are online. The third car will be equipped, there's equipment with some of the minor equipment, but it should be online probably by the end of the day today. So those are the cars we ordered last March, so they're finally online. We're in the process of, well, we actually received a De-Escalation Grant from the Department of Justice, which is it's a very intense grant, but basically talking about de-escalation and ethics training for law enforcement. We recognize being an accredited agency, we've always done a lot of training in this area, but as part of the governor's Law Enforcement Accountability Commission that he developed a couple of years ago in response to what happened in Minneapolis, this became a very big thing that hit our state as well. So it's going to be part of the curriculum in our police academy, be a mandatory training next year, so we're kind of ahead of the curve. As part of that, we applied for this grant to provide for some training, equipment, and also to certify some of the officers as instructors in de-escalation, basically the way to talk to people differently to maybe de-escalate them, along with creating 4 verbal judo instructors to be able to teach that to the department. So not cheap stuff, but 100% grant funded through the Department of Justice, and we received this grant. So as part of that, we had been searching for ways to obtain some type of interactive use of force equipment to do interactive use of force training. This grant will cover that. We're currently looking at a product called virtual reality training, which consists of like a headset that you wear, and it's a screen, and you interact with the scenario. So it can kind of put you into the victim or the suspect's shoes. I think one of the scenarios is put you in this virtual reality scenario that you go up an elevator onto a rooftop. It walks you to the ledge of the building like you're that person. So you see the scenario from the victim or the suspect's viewpoint, and then being approached by the officers. So it kind of gives you that other viewpoint. We have a demonstration coming out for test and evaluation on March 10th from Axon. Axon is the company that supplies us with body cameras and the tasers. So they're coming out to talk about their product with virtual reality. So looking to move forward with that, but that would be all covered by the grant. I also have copies of the grant. I thought you might want to read it at a later time, but it kind of explains the grant and gives kind of the narrative overview of it. We had a preliminary meeting with the city manager regarding our budget proposal for next year, and just a general overall discussion. So I don't know where we'll be funded, but that process has begun and is moving forward. And that's all I have for support.
General notice,
Nothing?
okay. Attrition summary.
So you have a copy of the attrition summary, dates back to 1991. Last year, we had 3 people leave, 2 sworn positions and 1 civilian position. Sandro replaces one of those positions, so we currently have 1 vacancy. That vacancy is being held for our community resource officer that's worked here for 2 years. He graduates from college in May. His background is being done now, so when he graduates, we'll be able to hire him right away. So that position is essentially filled. So we're doing very well as far as attrition goes.
Interesting, there were a couple of years there where there were 8 and 5 people that resigned to go to other agencies. Kind of
Yeah, that was right around the time that I started, and those were kind of the darker days of the department.
Moving on to IPC summary.
So you have the 2021 personnel complaint summary. I won't read off all of them. The vast majority of these complaints are internally generated. There were 3 that went to full internal affairs investigations. The rest were dealt with either oral reprimands, letters of reprimand, or they were unfounded. So we do a very good job in policing ourselves when it comes to complaints. And we essentially generate the complaints internally way more than we get from externally. So unless you have any questions on that.
When does a, when does a complaint rise to the level where you have to report it to the state? To police standards?
If they're suspended, I think it's, right? If they face a suspension of longer than a day or something. If they're obviously arrested or, I think that's it. That goes to the police standards, I believe.
On to use of force summary.
Then moving, the use of force summary, again, I won't read off all the numbers. We do a little bit, or a lot more reporting on use of force, and some of the things that we call use of force really aren't uses of force. So when you look at the total numbers, they look like they're really high, but our use of force numbers include display only. So we started this back when we first got the first version of the tasers, as a way to track how effective the taser was. So even though it's not a use of force to point a taser at somebody, we report that as use of force, and we can say, you know, we had 100 taser displays, but we only tased 3 people. But the taser is effective because we use it as a display. So we consider when we euthanize an animal, we consider that as a use of force with a handgun. So if you look at 2021, we had 9 displays of handguns. That would be if they were doing a building search and came across a suspect that might be armed, or a felony car stop that might be armed, and they pointed their gun at them and gained compliance that way. We had 7 displays of a rifle where it was pointed at somebody. 1 display of less lethal. 9 displays of the taser. And 5 displays of the canine. If you look at the use of force for the actual use of force, we euthanized 9 animals with a handgun. We used pepper spray on 4 people. Hands-on control, 96, that was by far the biggest number. Used a taser on 4 people. And knee strikes on 3 people. So our uses of force, when you look at our overall arrest numbers, are very, very minimal. And I think that speaks to our training program and the approach that our department has to speaking with people and trying to resolve things in a better manner than just going right to hands-on.
You still carry OC sprays, right?
We do. Yep.
Questions? On to Operations Division, Chief Canfield.
So the summer patrol shift bid went out the other day for the summer schedule already. Motorcycle week planning is well underway. I met this morning with the 2 captains to discuss the road forward for planning this large event. We scheduled the preliminary meeting with our immediate outside agencies in March, then we scheduled the full brief in May. So that is very much underway. Patrol's been very busy, and certainly the complexity of the cases has kept them busy. That's it for operations.
And you've already addressed the issue of hiring, so
Correct.
covered. On to item 7, commission action. You've all received a copy of the minutes of the January 26th, 2022 meeting. Are there any additions, subtractions, deletions, or changes?
Make a motion, we accept the minutes as listed.
We have a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second?
Second. Further discussion, none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The acceptance of the January 26 meetings were approved unanimously. Out-of-school or out-of-state schools, Chief Canfield.
So we have a number of out-of-state school requests for your consideration and approval. The first of which is for Officer Cleary. It's in Burlington, Mass. It's a one-day school for reading people on how to become a body language expert. So again, going towards that governor's council recommendations. The total cost of that is $199. We have another one for Detective Haran, Introduction to Human Dynamics and Conflict Resolution. That's in Plainville, Mass. It's a two-day school. That is a tuition of $365, and he will travel back and forth each day. We have a school for Officer Dempsey on deceptive behavior in hidden compartments. He's a very active officer in traffic stops and drug interdiction, so this was an appropriate school for him. It is an out-of-state school in New Jersey. He'll take a department vehicle to travel down there, but there's the cost of meals in a room. The total cost for that is $653.84. The next one is a Street Smart Cop Proactive Patrol Tactics for Officer Dempsey as well. This one is in Milford, Mass. He will travel down there. It's a one-day school for $299.99. And then the last school request would be criminal map training for Officer Dempsey as well in Boylston, or I guess it's in Boston, Massachusetts. That's a one-day school for $225.
This Plum, that one.
That was Officer Dempsey. Oh, I'm sorry, there was one additional school request for Officer Kira Goodhart. She has I guess it's actually Detective John Howe, Detective Dan Carson, and then it was Officer Kira Goodhart as well, so it was a third officer. That just got approved today. It didn't make the packet. This is for a trauma-informed sexual assault investigations training up in Stowe, Vermont, March 29th and 30th. The training is actually put on for free, but there is the cost of the room and meals, resulting in a total of $472, which would be a little bit more because I'm just going to add Officer Goodhart to this training. She was requesting it on a different training request. So any
Questions?
Questions?
Bring your skis.
Yeah.
You walk the lift?
Really?
Yeah.
They saw snow at that time.
Make a motion, we send these people to school.
Motion's been made to approve all of the previously mentioned training requests. Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Right?
Aye. The training request for these schools passes unanimously. Review of monthly activity reports. Chief Canfield, Department Monthly Highlights.
So for the month of January, we responded to a total of 1,621 calls for service, investigated 236 criminal offenses, 180 of those were cleared by arrest, 92 were physical custody arrests. We conducted a total of 618 motor vehicle stops, issued 26 summonses, 546 written warnings. There were no fatal accidents. We did respond to a total of 45 accidents for the month, 3 of which had injury. Issued 83 parking tickets, arrested 5 DWIs, and we took 21 people into custody for intoxication. We responded to 23 domestic disturbance calls, 62 other disturbance calls, 6 suicidal subjects, and 7 violation of restraining orders. In our victim services unit, volunteers donated 5 hours of volunteer time for that.
calls for service were down from last year. Is that,
Yeah, I mean, it does ebb and flow, you know, I think a lot of that is weather dependent, especially in the winter time, so.
okay, moving on to criminal investigative unit statistics, Chief Canfield.
So for the month of January, they took on 28 initial new cases, conducted 21 follow-up investigations on other cases, made 5 felony arrests, generated 4 felony charges, 3 misdemeanor arrests, 3 misdemeanor charges, conducted 21 search warrants, 3 of which were 3 cases were exceptionally cleared. 1 case was unfounded. They conducted 23 sex offender registrations, investigated 5 computer-related crimes, 2 background investigations, 12 drug intel sheets, covered 1 patrol shift, and conducted 4 polygraph exams, along with conducting 64 body-worn camera redactions.
Questions? Budget printouts, Chief Canfield.
We were trending in the right direction. We are currently at 55.77% through the budget year, and we are at 54.03% spent. So we're close to, just over 1.5% under budget.
Moving on to monthly traffic statistics.
I think I covered the statistics from that before, but the number one cause for accidents was unsafe backing and driver inattention, which is no surprise. The number one location for accidents was on Union Avenue, which accounted for 8 of the crashes, followed by Court Street, which accounted for 4 of those crashes.
The monthly fleet report, Chief Canfield.
Nothing unless you have any questions.
Chief report.
So drug overdoses for the year, for last year, we had a total of 75 drug overdoses. And, well, this is showing 6. I guess it's not showing 6, but 6 overdose deaths, which is not accurate. We had 14 overdose deaths last year. I'm sorry, that's 6 overdoses this year so far, year to date. 75 total overdoses last year. But if you look at the bottom, I'm not sure why that's not trending, but it's, the number is not true. We had actually 14 overdose deaths, so I assume that it hasn't caught up with the statistics until the actual drug lab results come back, so that number is much higher. We recently brought back an opportunity for, it's going to be 1 detective and 1 patrol officer to take on a collateral duty of being a liaison to, or I should say an expert in gangs, whether it be outlaw motorcycle gangs or some of the street tagging that we see, to track the types of graffiti that we see, and then also be a little bit more in touch with the motorcycle gangs and insignia, that type of thing, and provide training for the department. So it's an opportunity for 2 people to explore, and that will be put out shortly to anyone interested. We recently made the decision to add 2 members to the regional SWAT team. We currently have 3. This would bring us to a total of 5 people on the SWAT team. The benefit to us is that we bring back a lot of training to our people when they come back on regular patrol. So in addition to affording them, additional collateral opportunities if they're interested. We had a meeting with Congressman Chris Pappas last week, a roundtable discussion with Public Health, Detective Adams, and a number of other people. Just wanted to talk about the creation of Eric's position and bringing that statewide and his efforts in making that grant happen. We gave him a tour of the police department and just very progressive and supportive of that program. So that was a good meeting with him. The LPRA voted today to make a donation of $250 to the Robbie Mills benefit. It's a pool tournament which the proceeds go to support the Boys and Girls Club and the children's auction. So the $250 from the LPRA will get their name on a T-shirt to help sponsor this event. Certainly, I know you guys are familiar with Robbie Mills, but certainly a big deal for Laconia. Yesterday, we accepted a donation from the chairman of the trustees of trust funds for Laconia for the Debbie B&R's Fund. They donated 2 separate checks of $250 to benefit the DARE program. So certainly nice there. And that's all I have.
Anything under old business?
Nothing?
New business?
Nothing?
Other business?
Nothing?
Citizen comments? Hearing none. Confirmation of the next meeting date, March 16th, 2022, here at City Hall. Any concerns? Hearing none, we move to adjourn.
Make a motion, we adjourn this meeting.
Second?
Second?
Motion made by Commissioner Mello, seconded by Commissioner Davis. All in favor?
Aye.
It passes unanimously. Meeting adjourned at 3:30.
You know those letters that you get from people saying how good police officers are and stuff like that? It's brought up, me, the officer says, too bad they didn't have a license. You know, the officers see that on the letters. And he said that would be, see that those letters like that we put into the,
Yeah, we could do that.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And certainly, usually they get entered into Guardian tracking, so
Yeah.
they see them, and they know that somebody sent a letter about what they did, but we could put that out so everybody could see it,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.